Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of Let's Talk. Today we are here with Jordan Nurney. She is a friend and a fellow community college graduate. I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to let her take the reins on this one. Jordan, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Erin. As Erin said, I'm Jordan, and I am a community college graduate. Graduated in May of 2019. Like Erin, can't really think of anything other than that we're in just this crazy time. I transferred to JMU, so first semester was fine in person. Then second semester was online, and what a great way to begin a new chapter of life than throwing basically you have to adapt, which I think is basically what life is about. You got to make circumstances out of the most of it. You got to adapt with what you're given.
Absolutely. Got to make it work. You got to do what it do, as they like to say. You got to do what it do. Absolutely. Okay, so today you spoke about the crazy times that we're in right now, and I absolutely agree. So how fitting for us to talk about the benefits of community college.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So let's start there. Let's start with, give me a little background on your community college experience. How was it for you?
It was great. I mean, when I think back on it initially, it wasn't my first choice. I knew about the community college system. I had heard of it, but I really didn't know kind of the full in-depth. I think a lot of people, when they hear community college, they automatically think, oh, well, it's not real college or it's less than. But in the reality, the only thing that's less is the cost when I really think about it. But when I think back on, my high school experience, freshman year of high school, it's like, oh, okay, you have 4 years of high school, but don't blink because it's going to go by really quick. And
Yeah.
then freshman year, you're kind of getting used to things. Sophomore year, it's like, okay, you're going to take your PSAT. You got to start thinking about where you might at least want to tour for colleges and
Absolutely.
where you might want to go. And at the time I was like, I don't even have my driver's license yet. Like, I have to start thinking about college? Like, what do you mean? And then junior year comes, and that's when you kind of start touring colleges. And so I toured several, and there were some that were like, okay, this is where I definitely want to apply. And then there were some where I'm like, not for me.
No
Absolutely
way.
not. Yeah. I remember stepping foot on, I won't name the college, but I remember stepping foot onto one. I'm like, I just remember looking at my mom like, I would never, ever apply here. Like, I just could not see myself there. And then, but there was one in particular that was like my top. It was my dream school to go. It's where I envisioned myself. It's where I felt like I belonged. And then my senior year came, and at the time, this university actually did basically a speed admission process. So
Okay.
you go down, you've already applied, you have your recommendations turned in, and then within 5 days, you find out if you're accepted or not.
5
5 days.
days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
and they used to do it where you go down and then you go on a tour day, you find out if you're accepted or not. I'm glad they changed that, because had that been the case for me, my ride been awful, absolutely a wreck. And so everybody was like, oh, you'll get in, you're gonna be fine. I had wonderful teachers write me recommendation letters, and so I was really, really excited, and told them about my circumstance as far as foreign language, because I had only taken 1 year of foreign language, and most four-year universities want at least 3, if not 4 years. And I'd explained that I took an elective course that I felt like would be beneficial for me and my major with wanting to be an educator.
Okay.
And so like, oh, like that's perfect, like that's fine. Like, thank you for letting us know. You'll just probably have to take then more foreign language once you get here. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. Like, if anything, like I can take them at the community college if I need to.
Absolutely.
So every day goes by. Every time the phone would ring, I'm like, is it them? Checking my email like a maniac, like refreshing it like every 5 minutes. I mean, I'm sure my phone was like, okay, we get it. You're checking your email, like stop. And then Friday came. That was the last day I was supposed to hear anything. Hadn't heard a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is really weird. So I told my mom, and she's like, well, if you don't hear anything by 4 o'clock, you might want to go ahead and email somebody, because most offices and universities close at 5 o'clock. I was like, oh,
Gotcha.
you're right. So I emailed the lady I had been in communication with at admissions, and it felt like forever for her to write me back. I was what can you be doing? You have 1 hour left to work. Like, you're probably just twiddling your thumbs, like waiting for it to be 5 o'clock. And
How
so she
long
writes
was
me,
it really? How long was it really, that
probably
waiting
10,
period?
probably 10 minutes.
Okay. All
But
right.
like 10 minutes feels like forever when like you're waiting for your college acceptance
Yeah,
for your
absolutely.
dream school. And so she writes me back and says, "Oh, thank you so much, Jordan. We're actually just going over your application right now. We had a couple questions for you." And I was like, "You're waiting till 4 o'clock on the Friday I'm supposed to hear? Okay, fine, that's fine." Like, maybe they had a huge pool of people that were doing this rushed admissions process.
Hmm.
So she sent her questions, and I was like, well, I already explained these in my application, but I'll explain them again. Thankfully, I already had the document saved on my computer, so I could just copy and paste my answers that she needed. And then this time around, she wrote me back in like 2 minutes.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, well, that was fast. And then I didn't even need to click on it. I could just read the first two letters, "We're sorry." And so I opened it, and it said, "We have to decline you acceptance." And I was so crushed. We were supposed to go and have a family dinner that night with my grandparents and my aunt and uncle, my cousin. I did not go. I was like,
Oh
I'm not
man.
going. I'm staying home. I don't want to see my family at this point. Like, because one, like, my whole family knew. They knew that this, like, what was going on. I mean, love my grandparents. They even drove by Friday after I got off the bus. Like, literally as I'm getting off the bus, driving by my house, and my grandfather, "Have you heard anything yet?" It's like, I just got home and I don't have cell service in school, so like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go, and I was crushed. I didn't even want to go to school on Monday because I didn't want to tell my teachers that knew that it was coming.
Yeah.
And in fact, I actually avoided one teacher in particular for 2 weeks.
Why did
Um,
you avoid this teacher?
so she wrote me a recommendation letter, and she was very eager. She was an alumni of this university, and so I felt as if, because I didn't get in, and she wrote me the recommendation, and a very heartfelt recommendation letter, she was like, "Oh, like, I don't even need, like, information about you. Like, I know you well enough." She was basically like my mom at school, if you will.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I felt as if I was letting her down. And literally, it was funny, like, the way, like, you could get to her classroom to, like, get to most places was like the easy way in the school. I would go
Hmm.
the long way in the hallways just to avoid seeing her,
Oh
because I didn't
no.
want because I didn't want to. And then, like, Monday morning came. Thankfully, I had first period kind of off. I was a student aide for one of my favorite teachers, so thankfully that lucked out. So I didn't have to, like, go first period and, like, be around like a bunch of friends being like, "Oh, what happened? Do you hear anything? Like, what happened?" So it was
Yeah.
just me and him and a couple other teachers that also had first period off. And so I remember going in, and the announcements go on, and so he was like, "Hey, like, you were supposed to hear about Longwood, weren't you, on Friday?" I was like, "Yeah, can we, like, go in the hallway and, like, talk?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So, like, I told him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry, like, they're missing out, like, it's
Yeah.
their loss." And I was crushed. And so as time kind of went on, thankfully at that point in time, I found out earlier than I think early admission people found out. So, like, at that point, like, I mean, I had months that I could still
To
even
pre-
apply to
yeah.
colleges.
Okay. So that's a silver lining in that heartbreak.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think had that not been the case, I think so oftentimes that people, they get so excited and they wrap themselves up, and it's exciting time, but then when they don't get in, but then, like, they kind of, like, either settle for, like, the lesser option, that they're like, "Oh, like, well, I'll just apply here," and, like, because I remember, like, meeting with my guidance counselor, he's like, "Okay, you need to reach an easy school that you're going to get into, and then, like, a school that, like, you may get into, you may not get into. It just, like, they're like, it's iffy."
Yeah.
And so but, like, I think a lot of people, like, they think, like, "Oh, well, like, I'm also gonna have a school that, like, I don't really want to go to, but, like, I'll just apply to it anyways." Like, I had so many people I went to high school with, like, I don't really want to go here, but like I'm gonna just apply because everybody's applying here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
there was a
so
little method behind the madness, just a tint.
yeah. Yeah, and
Gotcha.
so, but this was the only 4-year school I had actually applied to initially because I was like, this is my dream, this is my top school.
This
Yeah,
is my plan
yeah,
A.
yeah. This is where I feel at most at home, and then and so then, I remember like as time went on, and my mom and I were kind of talking about like, all right, what's next? Like, do we apply anywhere else? And
Hmm.
I remember throwing out some other options, and my mom just looked at me. She's like, do you even want to go to VCU? Because that was kind of my next option. It was like, well, VCU's right here in Richmond, my
Yeah.
backyard. But, and I was like, not really, no. And she's like, well, don't apply then. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't want to just do it because like that's what like the norm thing is to do. And I'm glad she asked me that because I think had she not asked me that,
You would have just went on
I
and done
probably
it, huh?
Probably, but at the same time too, I probably would have felt like I'm just doing it because everybody else is doing it, and
Gotcha.
I'm not one of those people anyways. I've never been one to just go along with everybody else. I've kind of been like one to do my own thing and like follow my own path and journey, and so I think I probably wouldn't have. And
Yeah.
so, and then she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'll just do John Tyler and I'll transfer. And little did I know that it would have ended up being the best decision I could have made. One, for myself, not just financially and academically, but also just like emotionally as well. Because I think when you go to a community college, you're seeing so many types of people. You're not just seeing
Absolutely.
the people that you've graduated with from high school. You're seeing all walks of life. You're seeing people that straight out of high school, you're seeing people that are homeschooled, that are working to getting a college degree while they're 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
But you're also seeing like, 40, 50, 30-year olds. And to me, I loved that. I loved seeing
The
every walk of life.
diversity.
Yeah.
I
Because
agree. I agree with that one. That sentiment 110%. The diversity at okay, let's start there. One of the benefits of community college is the diversity and
yeah,
how fluid it all is. Different walks of life, different ages,
yeah,
races, backgrounds, everything. Yeah, I one of the benefit. There's one benefit
hmm
of community college is how the level of diversity that's
yeah.
within the campus.
Oh, for sure. And it's so motivating too, because people that you see single parents going back to get
Yeah.
another job. Basically, you're seeing all these people who are trying to figure out something. And I think for me it was so incredible. I'll never forget my very first semester. I was taking a Spanish class, and I remember there were a couple older people in the class than me, and there was one guy, he was probably mid 40s, early 50s. And I remember he and I were paired to work together on an assignment. And he's like, well, your brain's young and like you can grasp this more quickly. So like this is probably really easy for you. And I remember thinking, wow, like one, like school's not easy for me. I've actually struggled through school throughout, elementary, middle, and high school. But two, like what a great thing is that for me to see that like, people that are older than I am that are in my classes are looking at me thinking, this is probably easier for you than it is for me. And it really kind of woke me up and thought, everybody's on their own path and you don't know what people are experiencing. And you can't just say, oh, well, because they have a younger brain, then it's easier. Or, oh, well, because they're older, they're not going to understand it. They're not going to
Yeah,
get it.
absolutely.
And so I think it's a really cool thing to see that those different paths. And also I think one thing that's another benefit with community college is like the community feel. Our president, Dr. Asfiller, always says that like community is our middle name, and and he strives for that every day. And I think sometimes people will say that, but I think it goes beyond when people actually showcase it and mean what they
Yeah,
say, beyond just saying it. And to have a president of a university who, one, he was a community college graduate himself, so he's been in our position
yeah,
and can relate to the students, and in a way that other people might not be able to relate.
Yes, absolutely. That's really good to have someone in that on that level. Um,
Yeah.
to have them be able to understand you and your plight and where you're coming from. I think
Yeah.
that the community feel when it comes to like a community college. I know my campus. I went to Central Virginia Community College, and the campus itself, like I could be on campus all day. It kind of remind me of being at Barnes and Nobles. I could be at Barnes and Nobles all day long. I love it. And that was the feel that I got when I was at school. I literally left because I probably had to go to work.
Right. You left
So,
because like if you weren't there all day, then security would wonder. I actually had a friend who, Joe, I don't know if he's going to watch this or not, and I hope he doesn't get mad at me for sharing this story. But like he knew everybody. Like people always like joke, like my best friend Sarah always like, you know everybody. I'm like, no, Joe knows everybody. But he's like the king of falling asleep. Like he could fall asleep anywhere. I don't know how he does it. And there was one time he would go and play in the music room at John Tyler, and he fell asleep in the music room, and he woke up at like 2-3 in the morning in the music room. And the music, so like you go up the stairs and then like you go down the hallway, and then like it was down in like kind of like a hidden part of a hallway. And
yeah.
he comes out, and we had 24/7 security, and he's coming down, he's walking down the stairs, and there's a security desk like right when you go down the stairs, and the security officer like looks up and he's like, what are you doing here? Who are you? And he's like, sorry, I fell asleep.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's
so
crazy.
like I kind of joke with him, I'm like, you're the only person who can say they've spent the night at John Tyler. And I mean, hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for saying, but it's just so funny because I mean, like, yeah, like I never wanted to leave. I mean, I got my first job working at John Tyler, and it was like the best of both worlds. The fact that like
Yeah.
I could go to class, and then after class I could go to work, or I could go to work for a little bit and then go to class, and then having that place so you don't have to keep going back and forth, and like, and also like to have that balance too of like, oh, like, you know, because then your employers know how important school is because you're already at school.
Yeah, that balance. So the benefits of community college: diversity, right? Balance, flexibility. What did you said something else too. You threw something out there.
Oh, what did I say? Oh shoot. Diversity, we got that.
Community.
Yeah, the community feel.
Community. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. That's what it was. Community. Yeah,
Yeah, and the
so
flexibility is so important because I think for one, like when you go to a four-year school, you pretty much have to be full-time. Whereas a
absolutely.
community college, you can take one class at a time. I mean, it will
Yeah.
take you a while if you're going for a degree or certificate, but you can do one class at a time. And I knew people that did that. And I think it works for people that need to have that that need to take their time, that aren't really in a particular hurry, or
Or
they
they're
have
in
a
like a financial, their finances
yes.
are are not there for them to go ahead and jump in full,
Yeah, right.
full time 100%. I
Yeah.
know when Bailey and I first moved to Lynchburg, um, I started at CVCC, and I think I could only take like 3 classes because I had student loans because I was out of state. So that
Right.
out of
Yeah.
state tuition was a killer.
Yeah.
But once I got that Virginia license, it made all the difference, and I was able to get in-state tuition, and I was able to take a couple more classes. But one thing I do want to touch on, since we're talking about finances, um, I don't know about you, but so non-traditional student. I started school when I was 28, I believe. And I had to get student loans. It took me 4 years, whatever.
There's no
I had to,
race to who gets the
there's
degree.
no race at all. There's no race. I did it, right? The first 2 years, I had to get student loans. I could only take the classes that I could take enough to pay for that I could pay for with the student loans. being active on campus led me to being in the criminal justice club, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being in a criminal justice club led me to being the vice president of the criminal justice club, and soon after, the president of the criminal justice club. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
got like nominated to take on student government.
Mm-hmm.
With those in those positions, I don't know if people realize this, but you get scholarships for
Mm-hmm.
being in those positions and being active on your campus. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, my last 2 years, I paid nothing.
Yeah.
Between applying for scholarships and getting scholarships, and being on student government and being active on campus, that gave me the opportunity to go to school and finish up my degree for free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't owe anything for those last 2 years.
And I don't
And
think people realize that with scholarships. Like, I would always tell people when I would give tours, because that's what I did on campus. I gave tours and basically did outreach events. And I would tell people, like, and I would show them the financial aid office and I would show people the scholarship flyer. And I was like, apply. Like, if you don't get because most people, I think, when they fill out the FAFSA, they're like, oh, yay, like, I'll get money. It's like, yeah, you can, but what people don't kind of realize is, like, even with loans and stuff like that, you still have to pay it back,
you have
and
to pay that
interest
back.
goes up. And but with scholarships, you don't have to pay a dime at
Nothing.
all. It's free money. And like and one thing that I love with like the community college is that, like, the people that would donate for like scholarships are like the people who like were really invested in it. It wasn't just like a big corporation that's like donating to like a four-year
Absolutely.
university. And I don't know if Central Virginia Community College did this, but John Tyler did this in the fall. They would bring all of their scholarship recipients that received a scholarship, and they would bring all the donors. So
That's
you got
awesome.
to meet your donor and actually thank them, like, in person, and not just like write them a thank you note because your
Yeah.
mom told you to, or you felt like you needed to do. Like, you actually got to, and like, you got to have a meal with them and like really get to talk with them. And also, like, by doing that, like, I had a friend, he ended up getting mono his very first semester at John Tyler, and then he was on a scholarship, so he ended up like failing some classes. And because he was on scholarship, I remember some one of our coworkers had told him, like, well, who is your scholarship recipient, or
Yeah.
who gave you your scholarship? And he was like, oh, it's so and so. And she's like, I would talk to them, because it's an individual. They may be more understanding than these bigger corporations,
Yes, absolutely.
because they're giving all this money that they, when they go to these luncheons, which we didn't have a lot of big corporations. We had
Mhm.
more, I think, like the smaller ones that you have, but and like more smaller individual donors. But
Mhm.
like, but still, like, when you have that individual, like, they're liable to be more understanding. And when you have the big corporations, they're just sending a representative who is just representing the company of, like, oh yeah, yeah, when
Oh
like,
yeah, I gotta be here.
yeah, it's like, oh yay, free food, I'll sign up for it, and like
Absolutely.
get like extra day of pay, like vacation time or something. When at the end, but it was just so, I worked the scholarship luncheon once, and I loved being able to not only see the scholarship recipients, because it was just so cool, like, and to see like all the different things they get a scholarship for, of like, oh, like, here's a new, like a first year nursing student who's getting like the Bon Secours nursing scholarship,
Mhm.
and all that. And it was just so cool. Or like, the Dana Hamill scholarship, who was the first, like, with the first chancellor of the Virginia Community College system, and like,
Wow.
he's still alive at 90 something years old. But like, but it's still just, it was so inspiring to see, because I think a lot of people, they don't realize, like you said, like, it's free money. Like, and the thing was, like, we always had so much money left over for scholarships, so like, people would honestly sometimes get more. Like, I had a friend who had, like, I think he ended up getting like 5,000 for as a scholarship, so he had like this money left over, and he's like, I don't know what to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, and so like, he contacted his scholarship donor and was like, do you want the rest? Like, I don't need all of this. And he's like, get yourself a new laptop. Get yourself any school supplies that you need.
Yep.
And he was like, are you sure? Like, he's like, yeah, go for it. Like, absolutely. And like, he felt weird. He's like, I feel weird, like going and buying a laptop, and like, I was like, but you're using it
I
for
was about to say,
school.
but
Like,
that's how I got my laptops. I had 2 laptops. I had a white one and I had my silver one that I have now. I got them both off of scholarship money that I had left over. I go to the bookstore, get my books, make sure I have all of that stuff first, and then they're like, hey, well, if you don't use this, it's going back into the pod or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So if you need a laptop, get a laptop. If you need notebooks, pens, and pencils, get all of that stuff. A lot of people, they don't, I don't know if they understand the impact that scholarships, that just applying for it will have on their college experience. And I know we're talking about community college, but this works for 4 years as well.
Yeah,
4-year colleges
absolutely.
as well. Apply. If you don't listen to anything that Jordan and I say on this live,
just apply.
just go to the scholarship page and apply for the scholarships. Anybody who's watching this who's going to CVCC, let me know. I know the person in charge of the scholarships directly. I can get you in contact with Miss Rice, and we can do what we can to get you, through school. Because like right now, we're in the middle of this pandemic. Well, not even really the middle. We're like in
We're
it.
like here.
We're
Yeah,
like
we're submerged.
we're in it. And there's some 4 years who are like still wishy-washy about what they want, how they want to go forward. So at this point, anyone who was thinking about going to a 4-year, this may be a really, really good time to buckle down, and check out your local community college and see the classes that they offer, and see if those credits will be able to transfer to the school that you do want to go to. But you'll be
and
able to take
most will.
absolutely.
If you're looking to transfer it to an in-state school, that's another thing. I think, I don't know if you ever experienced any of this, but I know I sure did. I cannot tell you, like, I've lost count of the amount of people who are like, well, make sure everything transfers. Are you sure you want to do that? Because not everything will transfer.
I got my share of transfer talk.
Comments. Yeah. And it's like, geez, let me figure it out myself. And I think while community colleges have come a long way, I think they've come a long way in the sense of that, but also 4-year colleges too, because I think the community colleges have always been willing to work with that. But I think the 4-year colleges have to also be in agreement with that. I think a lot of people kind of think that, oh, well, the community college, they're wasting my time, they're wasting my money by doing that. No, they don't want to. They want things to be seamless. Because I remember when I went to visit in the fall semester this past fall, and I went and caught up with our vice president, Dr. Figgy, and he was like, he obviously gave me a hug at first, but he's like, were you good? Like, did things transfer? And I was like, all 73 credits of mine transferred.
Nice.
Boom. And he's like, that is what we want to hear. And I think a lot of people kind of blame the community colleges for it without but you have to do your digging.
You have to do your homework.
You can't just automatically assume. And I've always told people, I'm like, you are better off going to your community college for 2 years, a year if anything, or a year and a half, getting your degree in general studies or liberal arts, depending on what you want to do, graduating with that associate's degree. Because yes, as a matter of fact, people, you can graduate with just a general studies associate's degree and you have one college degree under your belt.
Yep.
Which I don't think people realize. And then and if you match it up with your university that you want to go to, most of the time, 95%, it will transfer there. And you have to read the fine print, because some colleges, I know with me going to JMU, I was fortunate because of my associate's degree that it was under their guaranteed admissions agreement. And so I'll explain a little bit of what that is. So a guaranteed admissions agreement is where a community college and a four-year school work together. They basically create kind of a shared, I don't want to say curriculum, but a shared guide, if you will, like, okay, what classes of ours and what classes of what classes of the four-year school and what classes of the community college that we have that are the same, that we will accept as the same. They may not be like the same as far as like
they may not be worded the same, absolutely, but
right, but
they
check off that requirement.
Yes.
So like English 101 may be what it's called at one place, but English 111 at another place, but it's to them, they check it off
matches.
as like, yep, it matches up. And so for me, I lucked out that because of my Associate of Arts degree, that was under the guaranteed admissions agreement. So John Tyler had met with JMU and we're like, here are our Associate of Art degree programs. These are the courses that they will take. Do they match up with the courses that you have? Do you approve of them? If not, let us know and we will change them. And they looked it over. They had to sign off on it. That, and I don't think people kind of realize that either. Is like both the universities have to sign off that they are in agreement, because if you get to a university and and you're like, well, because you also have to sign off. I had to sign off saying that I am under the guaranteed admissions agreement from John Tyler to JMU, and I had to read all of this fine print of like, my GPA is going to be maintained. I don't have any more class. These are the amount of classes I have left. This is my date. I have one more semester left, and all of this. And to basically hold me accountable for one, because they're wanting to know that you're taking it seriously. Of like, you're not just doing it because you want to do it. You're actually committed to them and your degree. And if you change, and you can change your mind, you can change your major. It's not like a set in stone locked in, but it's just basically to let you know that like, look, like it's a contract, and and if you don't meet these requirements, we might defer your acceptance.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's important.
All right. So anyone who's watching this who lives in Virginia, most of the VCCS, which is the Virginia Community College System, most of the community colleges within that system have a set up agreement with most of the universities and colleges in Virginia. I'm not going to say all, but I'm going to say most.
I could pull up and see how many John Tyler even has that.
Yeah, like most of the schools in Virginia, the universities, I know Liberty, UVA, Longwood, Sweetbriar, like the list goes on. I know for a fact when I went to CVCC, we had a guaranteed acceptance agreement. You have to meet certain criteria. Obviously, it's not just, okay, I went to community college and I got like a 2.1 and I'm just going to go to school, whatever school I want to. That is not the case. You must maintain a certain GPA. You cannot.
You can't repeat more than 2 courses.
Yeah, so you can't withdraw it and try to do it again, and then withdraw and then try to do it again. Like, you have to show consistency.
Right. You can't, like, it's like you can't repeat a course. I think it's like more than 2 times, which a community college won't let you do anyways, unless there's circumstances. But, most of the time, like, if, I had a friend who majored in business at first, but he was not grasping intro to business and took it twice and like got a D the first time, then got a C the second time. And I was like, maybe it's time to reevaluate. Maybe this isn't for you. But, but at that point in time, like, you can do that. Like, I think it's so much more important to figure that out at that point in your career. Than in your like, for instance, like if I went all the way through and got into student teaching and I'm like,
this isn't for me.
This ain't for me. I would be screwed. Yeah. I mean, thankfully for me, with wanting to be a teacher, I want to do secondary level, so I have to major in my content area. So I can always fall back on just history, but I'm sorry, but I don't really want to be a reenactor.
Yeah.
As much as my mother has told me, you can always be a reenactor. I'm like, I just
No
couldn't. I just can't.
thanks.
No. And so, but but some people kind of, I think they don't kind of take that time to explore. And the nice thing with community college, you have the opportunity to explore so many different things. I mean, I took a psychology class primarily because I needed it at JMU, and I loved it. I didn't think
Yeah.
I would, because I was a little nervous, because I was like, well, I know sociology and psychology aren't the same thing, but they're kind of similar. And I took sociology in high school, and I didn't do so hot. Like,
Yeah.
but I ended up doing really great in psychology. But you have that opportunity to really kind of explore and find basically what you are into. And I think that's just one of the cool things is, you know, you have the ability to do that. When you go to a four-year university, you're really locked in on what you're allowed to do. You're not really, there's not a whole lot of flexibility room as far as what you can do. And I think, while I understand why they do that, but I think it does a disservice for the people who really don't know what they want to do, and they're just going to
They're
college
just
because
doing college.
that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just doing college. Another thing, while we're on this topic, I want to stress, um, going to school for anyone else but yourself is damaging.
Yeah.
You cannot go to school for something and expect to do good in it if you're not passionate, or at least have an interest. So, I waited a long time. I decided to go to school for criminal justice because I naturally had an inkling and drawn a passion to criminal justice and the criminal justice system. I did phenomenal, right? I did phenomenal because I was engaged with the content and the information that was being taught. I think for so long, a lot of students go to college for something that maybe their mom wanted them to go to school, or their dad or their brother or their sister, or you're supposed to be a doctor, you're supposed to be a lawyer. If your
Mm-hmm.
heart is not there,
You're not
then
going to want to do it.
you are not going to want to do it. And it's kind of cool because I remember my first year, I was taking English, um, what was it, English 111? Well,
Yeah, the first year English
first,
is like 111 and 112.
yeah, so I was taking 111, and that class was split up in two parts. We had the basic, like you had to learn grammar and
Yeah.
stuff like that in the first half. Then we had Christmas vacation, came back the second half, and we did essays and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part of my class was full, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go to break and we come back, and there's like 15 kids that aren't there anymore. So I'm talking to my professor. I'm like, Professor Velez, like, what happened? She
Mm-hmm.
literally said, Aaron, you are one of the students that needs to be here. It's kind of, it does a disservice when younger kids that really don't know what to do, but they're just going to school just to go to school,
Yeah.
they don't take it serious. And what
Mm-hmm.
happened was those kids failed the first half of the class.
How do you like, and see, and like, and I think it's just so crazy. And like, and I think, while and and this, I think, a huge benefit of community colleges, you have to take a placement test before you go in, as you do at any four-year college. Even if
Hmm.
you got all A's in high school, you've taken AP tests or whatever, you still have to take a placement test, because they have to know where you are. They have
Yeah.
to know where like what can you, because one, like, a placement test can either place you into something or place you out of something.
Absolutely, place you in or out. Absolutely, I love the way you put that.
And so, and I think there was never anything wrong because I know, because there's a math and an English one, and the math one, they basically wanted you to test out, and I think it's changed a little bit, but not terribly. You have to basically test out of these 9 modules. So
Mm-hmm.
what we would do is it was these modules were 4 weeks long. It was like week one, like module 1, adding and subtracting and
Yeah.
multiplying and dividing. Module 2, adding and subtracting more than one variable and stuff like that. And they were 4 weeks long. And at the end of the 4 weeks, you would have a test. And so they basically want you to test out of those. And then for English, I'm not sure. I know they had it was like English fundamentals 1 and 2. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you had to go in those, it was kind of like the modules and introducing you to how to do college English and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's such a great thing that they did, because I suck at math. So I didn't test out of any of the modules.
Me
So
neither. I was in all 6 of them. Yes.
yes, I was like, well, this is kind of bad, but it also prepared me, because I think, while yes, math is very straightforward of 2 plus 2 is 4, math is also, I think, a very mental thing as far as how people teach it, because I think when you don't explain it in a thorough manner, I think a lot of people just automatically assume that they get it, what I'm saying, they're just gonna understand all this
It
other
makes
hidden stuff
sense.
that I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, I don't do well like that. And with studying for a math entrance exam, I'm finding wow, I understand why this is the way it is. Why was this never explained to me in school? But that's besides the point. But I think it was so awesome that they did that, because it really allowed people to figure out how math works in college. And for me, it really was beneficial, because when I first initially declared my major at John Tyler, I had to take modules 1 through 5
Mm-hmm.
as those were the prerequisites for the required math classes in me. So I'll also make sure to add that the math modules that you take are prerequisites for the math. So every math course has a prereq of the
Yes.
modules.
But they
So
still count as credits.
oh yeah, they count as 1 credit, I
They
believe.
still
Oh
count.
yeah,
It's 1 credit. It's one
but it
credit.
but
That means it still costs money, folks. Still
yeah,
costs
it's not
money to
free.
take
It
it.
ain't free. But so I remember, so for me, for instance, I had to take modules 1 through 5 initially when I declared my major. But then when I started, it changed, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, oh, we're redoing our math. We want our liberal arts people to take an easy math class instead of college algebra. So instead of that college algebra class with having to take modules 1 through 5, now you only have to take modules 1 through 4, which really, really lucked out for me, because it was, okay, modules 1 through 5, I was going to have to take all 4 modules within that first semester,
Mm-hmm.
and then that 5th module in the first 4 weeks of class, and then be done. And I didn't really want to take a short math class, so it would have been really annoying to take a 4-week class and then be done with it, and then just have
Yeah.
that empty block in my schedule. But thankfully they changed it, and then so I got really lucky. But I think it's a really smart way to do it. I think I wish more colleges did that in that way, rather than just granted, for me, I had to take a placement test for JMU, but
Mm-hmm.
to quote my transfer advisor, she was like, you don't really need to worry about your math one. You can just BS it. You'll be fine. Because I was already done with math. But so I think it's still something to consider, that if math or English, say, isn't your thing, take them at the community college where you can have a little bit more time and
You
transfer
have
them
more
in.
time. Um, there's another benefit to community college is the time. Another
Mhm.
benefit, I would say the professors. I would
Mhm.
say the professor, because think about it, you're a community college professor, or you're a teacher, or you're an adjunct, whatever it is. You have to, most of the time you gotta love it. I've had a few professors that I don't think they loved
Yeah.
it. I think that
Yeah.
ship has sailed. But
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I'm not good at math either, not whatsoever. And my last, I waited to take my math the last semester before I graduated.
See,
I
I
pushed
would
it.
have died.
I pushed it off, pushed it off, pushed it off. Took everything else. I literally had. I think I took math and film appreciation. That's all I had. That's all I had. That's all I had. And I was very, very nervous. First day of class, I said, his name was Mr. Fanning. I said, Mr. Fanning, I'm going to let you know now, I am not good with math. Um, I'm going to need help. I'm going to ask you for help. I'm going to be active, and you're going to know that I'm trying. But math is not my strong suit. He said, Aaron, you'll be fine. I listen. He worked with me. He helped me. He tutored me. He slowed it down. He taught me in so many different ways. If I didn't get it this way, he's like, okay, Aaron, I see it's not clicking right there. Let's try this angle. So I'm like, oh, okay, now that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
He emailed me. I was at work. At this point, I was working at Walmart. He emailed me one evening. I was at work and I opened the email. It says, Aaron, I'm proud to announce you passed this math class with a B.
That's
I
awesome.
almost, if I could do backflips or even a cartwheel, because I think I'm kind of tall, and like if I try to
can't
do a
do a cartwheel
cartwheel,
either. It's okay.
I might break my neck. I don't want to do that. But if I could do a cartwheel, I would have done a cartwheel. I was so excited. And I've never been to a 4-year, so I don't know exactly how that interaction would have gone. But if I say all of that to say this, if you don't really have a full-on plan when it comes to what you're going to go to school for, at this day and age right now, go to community college, and
Yeah.
and and that's a great place to figure it out. That's one of the benefits, is that you have the flexibility to figure it out. I honestly, I started at community college with my general eds, right? I started with my my gen eds, and I got to biology, and I was like, no way, no way, not happening. I literally, that was a Friday, I think. I was in class, and the teacher was teaching, and it was like one of those classes that was like from 6 to 9 at night.
No, that sounds like because my biology was 8 a.m. to 10:45
Oh my
in the
gosh.
morning,
Oh,
and oh, it was so brutal. And
it was
Dr.
brutal.
Salt, I loved her. I mean, don't get me wrong, like it was hard some days, like going in, but I mean, I loved my professor, Dr. Salt. She was amazing. Just one wonderful professor, but two just wonderful human being in general.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget. We had a test, and we're like, oh, so like, can we leave like when we're done with the test? And she's like, no, I still have more. Like we're gonna start covering the next unit. And
No.
I looked at her like, I was like, you're joking, right? Like I legitimately thought she was joking, and she looked at me like, no, like why would you think that's a joke?
And why would you think you could leave early? It's just a test. See,
I
that's
and I and I left the room, like going to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my, like, but
I
it was like,
cannot believe I just said that.
like I can't believe I just like looked at her like, yeah, you're totally joking, and then she looked at me back like,
You
no,
called her bluff.
like, I mean, I don't know if she'll remember that, but oh my god, it was just so like I can laugh thankfully about it now, but I'm
Yeah.
just like, what the heck? Like I cannot believe I would have just like looked at my professor like dead in the face, thinking you're joking, like what? Like no, but because like I mean because I had some professors that did that. I mean, I love my English professor was so wonderful. Would you believe in my entire college English career I wrote a total of 4 papers, like total.
That's crazy. I wrote 4 papers in one semester.
We wrote 2 papers each semester, and one of the papers, so my English professor was very very sarcastic, and I already had him for the first semester, so I already knew kind of I already knew who he was.
Yeah.
And so we had to write a digital or rhetorical analysis paper, and we had to pick a like print ad, a commercial, and stuff like that, and then we had to like write about it and connect it. So I chose, well, I've never smoked, so I'm going to do mine on smoking ads. And so I included in my paper how I never smoked a day in my life, plan on keeping it that way. And he was one of those professors who, when he wrote you comments, like, he wrote like he talked. And I liked that
Uh-huh.
about him because I thought you really got to get inside his brain more. And so he drew an arrow from that sentence and he said, you should try smoking. It's really fun and cool.
Oh my gosh.
And so I told him, I said, Professor Landon, I really don't appreciate your peer pressure and getting me to smoke. And he's like, well, Jordan, it's just really fun, like, cool. Like, why haven't you tried it? And there, I'll never forget, this poor girl who had, like, literally, like, I
She
guess
was
it was her
probably
first
so
semester.
oblivious. Like, I cannot believe he's telling her to smoke.
Well, like, he's handing her paper and she's just like looking at him like, and then like I see her turn around and go on the computer and look on like the academic calendar like to see when the drop date is. Because I think she was just so thrown back, and I'm like, he's joking. Like, if you don't know that this man is a sarcastic demeanor, like, get out. Like, I mean, but
Wow.
and so every time after that, he would ask me, "So have you smoked yet? Have you smoked? It's really fun. It's really cool." But like that's the thing. Like you said, with like your professors, you get to know them
And you
on
build
a
that
level that
rapport
you.
and that relationship.
And it
Um,
showed me with being now at a four-year university how much I value that relationship with having my professors know who I am and getting to know them for who they are. I mean, I won't lie, my transition to JMU was not an easy one. And I think
yeah.
while I knew it wasn't going to be, because one, it was my first time living away from home
Hmm.
ever, living with roommates. And when you're living with people that aren't family, it's a totally different environment. I
Yeah.
won't go into that.
Absolutely.
But I think, I really valued that. And take it from me, people, if you do decide to go to community college and transfer, and if you're like me who is majoring in history, don't take 4 history classes in your first semester, because you will have a panic attack the night before and doubt everything that you've ever done in your entire life, because that is what happened to me. I should have listened to my advisor on orientation of like, you might not want to register for 4 history classes in the first semester. And I just brushed off like, well, I'm gonna
Oh
have to
yeah.
take them at some point, so might as well take them now.
You're
Um,
nuts.
yeah, well, I
I'm
real
calling you. You are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for that one. There's no
oh
way.
I
That's like me taking four math classes.
oh it was bad. I left the bookstore the day before classes with my brother with 12 books. 12 for
Wow.
4 classes. And I'm not talking about like, textbooks. I'm talking like books that you read.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
and
novels.
yeah, like, I mean, I even have them, like, still. Like, there was one that was like this thick and another one that was like that thick,
Yeah.
and they were for the same class, and I'm like, how am I going to read this in 15 weeks? There's no way.
Yeah.
So I called my mom in like hysterics, like true panic form. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't major in history. I can't be a history teacher. This is the worst decision I've ever done. What am I
Hmm.
doing? I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know. So I dropped the 2 classes, looked on to see what electives were available. There was a sociology class and a communications class that literally had one seat left. So I enrolled in those suckers so quickly that if it was an enrollment time, that would have been filled like
It was meant to
immediately.
be. It was meant to
Yeah,
be. It
but
was meant to be.
take it from me. Don't do it to yourself,
Yeah.
people. Even at community college, don't enroll in like they always told us at community college, don't take a math class and a science class on the same day.
Yeah.
Give your brain a break.
They have even went as far as to tell me not to take a math and a science in the same semester. Like,
Yeah.
Aaron, you
Mhm.
might want to break those up. If math isn't your strong point, you might want to break those up.
Yeah.
So,
And like,
um,
and that's the thing, like, they're not telling that to you. I think a lot of people think they tell you that to scare you. They're not telling you that to scare you. They're telling you that because they've seen firsthand what people have done.
yes, yes,
And
absolutely.
I think also, like, for us at community college, sciences are 4 credits
Yes,
because
because we have a
they
lab.
include the lab. Because they
Yep.
include the lab. That's another thing, people. When you go to 4-year school, you have to do a lecture and a lab separately. But at community college, they combine the two. So that's why our science classes were like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
But it was actually really nice because a lot of our science faculty, what they would do, so say if you had your science on Tuesday, Thursday, they would do the lab, say, on Tuesday, and then the lecture on Thursday. So you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to go in and be like, oh crap, do we have a lab today? Do we have lecture today? Because when you're in a science class, they will tell you no open toe shoes. You have to pull your hair back, no jewelry and stuff like that.
No drinks allowed in this lab.
I can still hear that too. Oh yeah.
So Jordan, I'm gonna ask you one more question before we get out of here. Actually, it's gonna be 2 questions, but
okay.
I'll start with this one. How has community college helped you enter into like life and transferring into JMU and stuff like that? How has community college helped you in those ways?
Honestly, I feel like if it wasn't for community college, I wouldn't be the person I am. And I say that in a general sense as person, because I think I'm not just a student. I'm more than that. I'm a student. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend, all of these things. And I think had it not been for that, I wouldn't be where I am. I mean, like I said earlier, I had my first job at the community college. I really learned to find my voice. And, Erin and I had the amazing honor to be going to the Virginia Community College Leadership Conference, which was phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, thank you, Stan Pearson II, for bringing us together, because he's like, I feel like the real reason that also we connected even more. But those were the moments where I feel like I really found more of who I was. I found my voice. I've always been I don't want to say shy, but I've been more shy of letting people see who I really am.
You've been more reserved.
Yeah, I've had instances in the past where people have showcased who they are as a leader, and they're too outspoken to the point where they have to boss people around. So I've always been intimidated of well, I'm not a leader. And by going to community college really showed me I am a leader, and this is how I'm a leader, by paving the way for myself. It showed me how important it is to have those relationships. I mean, the people I met at John Tyler are people that are not just friends or not just coworkers of mine. They're basically a second family. I mean, I'm going to grab it. Erin knows about this. But when I graduated from John Tyler, so most people, they decorate their caps when they graduate. I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to do something because I couldn't decorate my cap when I graduated high school. And I just couldn't think of anything. And so then I decided, I was like, well, actually my mom brought it up. She was like, well, what if you wrote thank you and then wrote all around it all the people that helped you get to where you are? And so that's what I did, because had it not been for literally all these people and more, I've left off quite a few people but majority of the people on this cap are people that, because of my community college experience, I am who I am today.
Absolutely.
And if it wasn't for that, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am. I mean, thankfully, by going to JMU, I really valued education on a whole nother level. I valued having those relationships. I mean, my first week at JMU, I went to the career office because I was doubting what I wanted to do. And thank goodness for my career counselor, Colleen, who had a graduation cap 2 in her office and told me that she just graduated with her master's degree at 55 years old. And that reignited that fire in me of yeah, there is no race to who gets the degree first.
Nope.
And I've got to meet amazing professors. I got to form relationships with professors I didn't think. I mean, I introduced myself to my communications professor, who was a class of 200 something.
Yeah.
And that class was my favorite class I've ever taken thus far. And the professor, shout out to Dr. Hobson, was just if it wasn't for her at JMU, I probably would have had many more meltdowns.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest. But it really shaped me into who I am, to leave it lightly and simple.
Nice. Okay. All right. There's been several benefits that we've spoken about to attending a community college, a 2-year college. We spoke about diversity. We spoke about community, touched on that, the feel of the campus, and, we've talked about the flexibility, the balance, the work-life balance that it provides, because myself, I worked full-time and I was a student full-time. Luckily, I had a job that absolutely understood, hey, I know you're going to get your education. That's awesome. We're going to work with you. And they allowed me to build my schedule around, my classes. So that's an awesome benefit for anybody who is maybe a non-traditional student. I know they're trying to get away from using non-traditional. I just don't know what the term that they're using.
Student. I
right
think we
now.
can
Student.
just say,
okay, we can say student. Absolutely.
I think you're the one who mentioned, I think you brought this to my attention. You were filling out a survey once and it said, what's your highest level of education? And like the choices were high school, undergraduate, graduate, and then some college or none of the above. And after you said that, I kid you not, I filled out a survey and the same thing happened
And it
to me.
says
And I was livid.
some college, and in parentheses it says associate's degree. Like, are you kidding me? Do you know what I had to do to get this degree? And it's just some college. Luckily, that's a myth that I want to myth bust real quick. That's not coined.
Well, I think we just gotta tell people, do not do that.
Absolutely.
If you create those surveys, don't
do that. If you're going to say associate, say associates. Do not say some college parentheses associates, because that makes those of us who did go to community college and did get that degree, that makes me honestly, it makes me feel like it's this is what you. It's nothing. It's nothing to you.
It's something. It's
some.
Less than.
Absolutely, it's less than. So anyone out there who happens to see who happens to see this, if you're making some type of survey for school or anything of the nature, and you need to know education levels, do not put some college and associate's degree together. They don't go together. It'll be high school diploma or GED, because those go together. Associate's degree, bachelor's, doctor, master's, doctors, and then some college. Say you started, maybe you started a 4-year, or maybe you even started community college and you didn't finish.
Or that is what some. In college. You're in college and you're
working towards that.
Yeah, you're like 1 month away from graduating or something like that.
That is some college.
Because I think also, like, because we had a lot of trades at John Tyler, which I thought was wonderful. I mean, the one example I love telling people is we had a guy come in for orientation, and he was like, yeah, like initially I was going to study art, but then I realized, like, as an artist, like, it's a really unpredictable career.
Yes.
And so but then, like, when I saw that you guys had welding, I realized, oh wow, like I can get my welding certificate and come out making $75,000. Okay.
And I can still do art, because welding is a form of art.
The man will make more money than I will ever make as a teacher. So he's ahead of the game. But
absolutely.
But I think, like, that's just the thing. Like, you have all these realms to do all these things that you might not get to have. I mean, one of my best friends, Julia, she got her liberal arts degree and then realized, and she wants to be a lawyer, and she ended up going to UVA, graduating with her undergrad. But then while she was at John Tyler, she realized, wait, like, I could get my paralegal certificate. There's like only like 2 or 3 classes left that I have to complete. So she added that certificate, like, I think her like last year maybe, or her last semester. So now she could be a paralegal before going to law school.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what happened with my criminal justice degree. I got my criminal, that's Phi Theta Kappa. I got my I got my criminal justice, my associates in administration and justice, and I also at the same time got my certificate for criminal justice. I didn't even know that was coming. That was a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many benefits to going to community college. Not even we didn't even touch on the extracurriculars like student
Yeah.
government and the different clubs and things that you can join, band maybe, or the game club, or if you have an LGBTQ alliance club, or the
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic culture club, or
Yeah,
there
like I got to
are
go down to the
so
Capitol. Like I got
many.
to meet with legislators and talk about what community college has meant for me. And that was a wonderful experience in and of itself because one, like actually being able to meet the people that are representing me and are signing bills that determine the rest of my educational career, but
Yeah.
also the future. And I think they want to see us. And one of I loved, so we got to meet, she's no longer senator because she unfortunately didn't win the re-election, but Rosalind Vance, and she was a John Tyler graduate herself. And it was so cool because she shared how, you know, she dropped out of high school, really didn't think she'd become anybody, and then went to John Tyler to get her nursing degree, and she was state senator. And what a cool thing! And for us to be able to like meet with her and just hear her story, but also having her tell us that she believes in us and she wants us to follow our dreams. And it's such a cool thing. And to see these people that are really determining a lot, because I think if they don't see it and they don't hear about it, they don't think it's not on
It
their
doesn't
radar.
exist. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
okay, I got one final question for you.
Okay.
Then I want to be patient and good with your time. Precious with your time is what I meant. So, you're in school, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
JMU, you've graduated John Tyler, whoop, whoop, right?
Go Trailblazers.
What is what is the one thing that Jordan needs to live a happy life?
Patience. I think we live in a very fast-paced world, whether we realize it or not. And I think, given the circumstances with being in the midst of a pandemic right now, and the world seems very unknown right now. It's very nerve-wracking to not know what the future holds. I mean, the fact that at one point there were international students who go to school here who didn't know if they were going to get to finish out their educational career in the
Yeah,
United States. There were people who rely on financial aid and rely on scholarships, even that who are citizens of the US, who didn't know if that they would be able to finish out. And I think I had to remind myself that when I started at JMU, that if it takes me a little longer, it's okay,
hmm,
because look how I got here. And the mascot of John Tyler is a trailblazer. And the story behind it is that we believe that you start at one place, but then when you leave, you blaze your trail wherever that may take you.
yeah,
And you're not just done. And you know, John Tyler always says, you know, you're not done. You know, you don't have to just leave us and never return. And good Lord, I would never want that to be the case for me, because that's my family. That's my other
yeah,
family, basically. But I think being patient, we all just need to be patient with ourselves right now and be kind to ourselves. Easy for us to just be hard on ourselves and be negative and be mean. I mean, my therapist tells me all the time, just be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. And it's so simple. It's so simple. But at the same time, you have to flip that switch in your mind mentally to be like, why am I being like, would I want somebody else to treat me like that? No.
so why am I
So
treating
why
me
is it?
like that?
And so I think just being patient, you know, for those who aren't sure of what they're going to do in the fall, be patient. I mean, I'm having to tell myself that even though JMU is saying that we're going to go back, that I just have to be patient with what's coming. As unnerving as it is to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go. Like, I don't feel safe going back. I just have to be patient and know that I am safe, even though the circumstances don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And just being patient with what comes, but also being okay with the change and being okay with and adapting to it. I think,
Yes.
and it's hard. It's hard to adapt. I don't like change. I absolutely despise it sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think it's okay to just take a minute, lean on the people that love you and know you best, and talk to them, cry it out if you need to, you know, reach out to Erin or me if you need just somebody to talk to and just let it out. We're here. I mean, Erin is more to me than just a friend. She's somebody who I can talk to about anything with, but isn't going to just be like, really, this is so annoying. She's going to be there and listen. And I think what a great gift that you're allowing people to hear those things, because I think we all need somebody to talk to, whether we admit it or not.
I believe that.
We're
Absolutely.
humans, like, and but I think just being patient and being kind with yourselves during this time, and being kind with the people around you, because it's a very unprecedented time for everybody, and everybody's
Yeah.
circumstances are different.
Yeah. We're all dealing with this in our own way. However it works for us. I know for the past, for I would say maybe the past 2 years, my thing has been assess, adapt, or adjust. Like that's been it. Opposed, well, first, fight the fight. You got to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge, accept, and then ascend. But aside from that, you know, assessed, adapt, or adjust, or adjust and adapt. However you want to, however it works for you. But that's what's worked for me. That's what has been working for me and has allowed me to continue on this trail and this path that I've been on. Patience is really, really big. I actually gave the student address at graduation when I graduated, and that was one of my wrap ups that I said at the end. I said, be patient with yourself and others. And now more than ever before, I think that is
Yeah.
very, very important.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are kind of realizing for themselves what's important right now. And I think what a gift that we have that, you know, some people can't slow down because of their own circumstances, but I think it's a beautiful thing that we are able to kind of reevaluate if we need to, or take a step back, and rather than just go 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 go. And I think about my cousin who, she and her boyfriend live in New York City, and they thankfully were able to come down to Virginia and be with her dad. And what a wonderful gift that she and him and her father get to have,
Yeah.
that they probably will never have had if it weren't for this.
Yes. See the
And
silver lining, people. It's always one. It may not seem like it. It
it
may
might
take
be
you
this big.
and it may take you forever to see it, but I'm telling you, in most
You could start a
circumstances.
project, like do something you haven't done before. Like, heck, my mom and I cook bread. Like, I never
Let's
would have.
go.
Like literally, let's make some bread, people. Like, try something you haven't tried before. Pick up a book. I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. I'm like, I want to read a book that isn't a textbook or a school related book.
Yes.
And so I'm fueling my mind and reading stuff that is relevant to today, so I can be a better educator for not just my future, a better educator for myself. Because while, yeah, I want to be in the school system, but I got to learn this stuff myself. I can't just teach it to them and just expect them to know it and not teach and learn it myself.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, Jordan, being so awesome and amazing. This was an honor and a privilege to have you on today, and be able to shed some light into and break down some barriers, I hope, when it comes to community college. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to share? Where we can find you on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
So I will add, so JMU was not my top school when I was applying for universities. And so I think that goes with being willing to adapt and being open to some change, because when I was started John Tyler, my mind was on, I'm going here and that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But then little did I know, if I got my associate's degree and took a couple extra classes, that all my gen eds would be waived and I'd get into JMU. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way. It can't be that easy. Sure enough, it was, because I had 72 credits transfer in, and which is freaking amazing. When I say it every time, I just still can't believe that like 72 credits were able to go in. But
Yeah.
That wasn't my top choice, and being okay with that I mean, it was definitely like a little hard at first to like accept that change, but then once I kind of realized like, oh wow, like, do I want to go somewhere where like, just because like that's where I thought I wanted to go? Because once I toured it as a transfer student, I did not feel like I belonged at that 4-year university. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I would fit in, and it wasn't for me. And so being okay with that change, and so that's one thing I will definitely leave people with, and being okay with that change and knowing that things can change. And if you want to change your major, change your major. It's not the end of the world. People change their majors all the dang time. I mean, goodness, like, I can't tell you the amount of people that I know who changed their major. I mean, my communications professor took her communications class in her last semester of college, and now she's teaching communications. Like,
Yeah.
and she hated public speaking. She absolutely hated it. And now she's doing it every day for her job.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid if you figure out, because I think when you do something you love and you're passionate about it, it doesn't seem like work. And I don't think people realize that either.
Yeah.
And so it's important. But you can find me on Facebook at Jordan Nurney, and my Instagram is just Jordan_Nurney. It's spelled like gurney that they use on the ambulances, but it's with an N. I learned that when I was trying to I was like, I gotta tell people, figure out some formal way to tell people how like they can pronounce my last name. And then finally I realized, oh wait, Gurney is spelled the same way, but with a G. And
Brilliant.
so I mean, now people, all they think of me is hospital equipment, but hey, there are worse things that I could be thought of for. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, and if anybody ever has any questions about community college and like, is it for me? Because I believe community college is for everyone, and maybe not in the path that like Aaron and I took, where you're super involved, but like, even if you want to take a couple classes over the summer to get them out of the way, go for it. But and I also, when I mean that I believe it's for everybody can find their path in that way. I think when people go right away into a 4-year school, it can be very overwhelming at times. And I think it's very easy to kind of get caught up in that, but not kind of taking a step back and kind of like really appreciate some things.
Yeah.
And so community colleges were for everyone to go to. You don't go to community college. You don't even have to have your GED, and you can go to a community college. That's why they were created, to allow access for those in the community to go to. Also, people, you can check out a library at the library because it's a community library. So if your local library doesn't have it, but you see your community college library has it, guess what? You can actually use it. But the more you know.
The more you know.
It's reading right now.
Well,
But
Jordan,
it's true.
thank you so much for hopping on and sharing some of your knowledge and expertise in the community college realm and just life realm in general. I want to acknowledge you for just being the light and being a spark that I know I need, and I know there's other people out there in the world that can use your light and your spark and everything that you bring to the table as a friend, as an individual, as just an amazing soul and spirit to be around.
Well, thank you. And same for you. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I probably, wouldn't have had the courage to go up to somebody who I only communicate with on social media. But at the same time, too, I think when you go to the leadership conference, there's something about it that, like, everybody just, like, you feel like you already know everybody. I mean,
Yes.
do you remember the year that, I think it was like my first year. Yes, it was, because I remember being so weirded out. I don't remember who the speaker was, because it wasn't Jason, and I know it wasn't Stan. It was like, okay, you're gonna go around to like strangers, like to the people you don't know that aren't at your table, and give them a compliment. And I just remember being like, this is weird. And like some guy came up to me and was like, I like your face. And I was like, thanks, I like your socks. Like, I didn't know what to, but at the same time, like, when you go to stuff like that, because you all share that common bond of you go to a community college, you understand each other on a different level that nobody understands it.
Absolutely. I have to agree. I've had some of my best times have been at the VCCS Student Leadership Conference, and I think I've been 2016, 17, 2017, 16, 17. Did I go 4 years? No, I couldn't have.
Because you went this year. You went this year. You went in 2017, 18, 19. Yeah.
Wow.
And then, well, I mean, heck, I sang karaoke for the first time at the leadership conference, which I never would have thought that I would ever. And I also ate mustard like I thought it was cheese on a soft pretzel, which that's a story for another day. But yeah,
fun times, definitely fun times.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, Jordan, I'm gonna let you go. You've been amazing. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you. You as well.
Awesome. All right, now, everyone, this has been amazing. We're wrapping up Let's Talk. I believe this is episode 4, and we had the wonderful, wonderful, amazing Jordan Nurney on to discuss the benefits of community college. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, feel free to contact myself, or you can contact Jordan at Jordan Nurney on Facebook and Jordan_Nurney on Instagram. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Remember, you are uniquely created, and we will talk soon.